any fumbly bits out, mate, that'd be fine.
Yeah. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Sporting Max. Today we are joined by Melbourne United co-owner and the legendary HoopCity co-owner, Chris Moore. Welcome to the podcast, Chris. It's an amazing and a privilege and an honour to have you on. How are you going at the moment?
Going pretty good, mate. Just back from a couple of days off, so feeling a bit energised.
Chris, it's great to have you on. I want to start off with sort of your childhood and what growing up was like for you.
Growing up for me, I was just a sport mad kid. Basketball pretty much was everything, I suppose.
Yeah.
I was okay, but I was never really that good. But I just loved it. I grew up in what was a country town at the time. It's not so much anymore. But then all my friends now, everybody I hang out with now, all from my sporting and basketball childhood. I don't really have any sort of friends from school or anything like that. So my entire network is pretty much from my growing up and playing basketball and sport. So my childhood, sport.
So what was basketball like for you, and who are some of those people you've had a friendship with throughout all these years?
Well, a couple of them are actually my business partners now, and involved with me at Melbourne United and HoopCity. Others, funnily enough, we live in the same area now. But yeah, I grew up playing from at Werribee, majority of my sort of junior career, but we were from all over the place. So my mates from there are from, Shepparton, Sale, Horsham. They're all over the place. So,
did you go to university?
I didn't actually, Max. I started a trade early. I didn't know what I wanted to do really when I was older. So I actually did an electrical apprenticeship. Yeah. But by the third year of that, I was in the office and doing management type roles, and sort of never really looked back. So I was never any good at it. I never really got the chance.
Like you mentioned, the management side of things. I believe you were then a director at Services Cost Management. What did your position consist of there, and what was it like?
So that was an independent cost management company. So basically what I did was represented builders or electrical contractors, etc., in their whether it be feasibility studies, whether it be independent evaluations of work, and those sorts of things. So it was a bit of a broad ranging thing, but it was all in the costing side of major construction.
So then how did you get into with Metro Trains?
I went from the suppose that cost management side into the project management side. And I was managing a lot of projects that were in rail infrastructure. So at the time, Metro Trains and the Victorian government were my client. So after a number of years, I ended up moving from actually delivering the projects as the contractor, moved into being client side.
So how did you work your way up through the ranks at Metro Trains in Melbourne?
I've just been quite lucky, to be honest. I've never really, not the kind of person who set a goal or mapped out a plan of where I wanted to go or what I wanted to do. It's sort of where things have taken me, and just taking the opportunities as they present themselves, I suppose. If you're comfortable, Max, you need to find something new. You need to be uncomfortable. You need to be out of your comfort zone.
So in September 2018, I think it was just after Melbourne United won the championship, you became a part owner of Melbourne United. How did that opportunity present itself, obviously, with some of your best mates, and why did you really want to become a part of that Melbourne United group?
It was quite random, to be honest. I sort of was just sitting around and I texted one of the other guys, Callum, and just said, Melbourne needs a second NBL team. So we reached out to one of a friend of ours who was involved in the NBL and whatever at the time. But so the Phoenix had just purchased the license for the second Melbourne team, but it wasn't public yet. But at the same time, there was an opportunity. Larry was selling down some of Melbourne United, so
Wow.
went from that text message. Went from that text message, and within 2 weeks, we were shareholders of Melbourne United.
I want to get into sort of Q4 Electrical and Communications. What's that company about?
So that's, I suppose, me going back to my roots. So me and the similar guys that are in Melbourne United together, we've started Q4 together. We're an electrical and communications business, and we deal in all the major infrastructure projects. So whether it's level crossing removals, commercial buildings, new railway stations, those sorts of things. We're delivering electrical and comm systems on those sorts of things at the moment. So very hectic at the moment with the big government.
I want to get into HoopCity. I mean, the start of the state-of-the-art facilities. Where did the inspiration and idea for these facilities come about?
It's always been something that me and the guys had spoken about, but I think as we got older and as we had our own kids, you sort of realise in Victoria, particularly and all around Australia, if you want to do individual training, there's nowhere to do it. You can't get a court. You end up outside on an asphalt court or something like that. You can play as many team games and team training sessions as you like, but if you want to work on your individual skills, there's nowhere to do it. And now there's so much technology and those sorts of things that you can incorporate into it to make your training so much more efficient. We saw it as an opportunity, I suppose, that there was a gap, but our vision of HoopCity really is to help grow the game, to provide access to elite facilities, the best. You know, Melbourne United now train out of there full time. They moved out of the aquatic centre into HoopCity because it's a state-of-the-art facility, but we just want to be able to provide that elite experience and make it affordable and accessible to anybody, whether you're a 5-year-old just beginning, whether you're a 50-year-old that just loves basketball, whether you're an aspiring athlete, it doesn't matter. At HoopCity, you get that elite experience and it gives you whatever you want.
So when did you first sort of start building HoopCity?
It was about this time last year that we kicked off. I think we took possession of our first site in November last year. But then obviously we've had a few bumps along the way with COVID, and it's sort of prohibited some of our development. So one of the biggest things that we're doing at HoopCity is our development pathway that we're working on in partnership with the NBL. We plan on it being one of the best alternate pathways to your state program or your centre of excellence in Australia. And it's hindered us a little bit, COVID, but we officially opened in March this year, but I think we've been closed about 4 times since.
You mentioned Melbourne United coming in from the Melbourne Sports and Aquatic Centre and training full time at HoopCity. How did you get that to happen?
Well, it was a bit of fluke, to be honest. Like, obviously we've got the connection there with Melbourne United and ourselves, but when the NBL Cup came, all teams needed to train out of the MSAC. This is the NBL Cup year, which made MSAC a very crowded place.
It was a bit hectic.
So temporarily Melbourne United moved out of MSAC and moved into HoopCity so they'd have their own space during that NBL Cup period. And then from there, it just became that from a high performance perspective, it was just a much better place for them to be, having the gym, the facilities, the technology, the shooting machines, everything incorporated and integrated into one space. The high performance team and the management team just decided that it was a better place for the team from non-court. So.
What's your involvement in HoopCity been like so far?
It's been really exciting, but it's been challenging, the opening and closing, Max, because we've got such good big plans. But like any new thing, you need to be up and going and evolving and growing and changing with, as you know, you can do all the best planning in the world, but It's never 100% right. So I'm hoping now that we're back up and going, we can stay open.
Yeah.
And really fine tune what we're doing and really launch the products that we haven't been able to launch yet, particularly our development pathway, which is going to be absolutely amazing.
Can you take me through some of the coaches you've got on your sort of team?
Yep. So the main three are, we've got Justin Schuler, who's the Australian under-17 coach. So he's written our development program.
Wow. Yeah.
So he's written the actual program. He coaches the coaches, those sorts of things, and he's involved in the delivery and the implementation. So at all our venues, so we will be Australia-wide in not too distant future, and all of our venues will implement the same program. Then we have Dylan Stiff. So Dylan's obviously a recent player. However, a lot of people wouldn't know, Dylan's mum is a teacher.
Wow.
And his brother is a vice president of a university in the States. So education and teaching is in his blood. So just because you're a great player doesn't mean you're a great coach. But in Dylan's instance, I think he was actually made for coaching more so than he's amazing. And then we've got an Australian legend, Belinda Snell. You don't have to say too much about her, but same thing. She's just amazing. What she's done. There's not too many Australians with a record like hers.
I've seen you've had a couple of runs and games with guys like Chris Anstey, Andrew Parkinson, David Anderson, and more at HoopCity. I think it was prior to opening or maybe just afterwards. What was it like to take the court, with these Australian basketball legends?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. They were actually back there last night.
Were they?
Yeah, so they were there running around. So I played with Parky and Warwick Giddy and those sorts of guys for years. So it's always been an absolute ball to play with those guys. And you just see, like, they're just a step above everybody else. It doesn't change. Parky's in his 50s now. He's going through his health battles. But he still shoots the lights out. He's just so competitive. It's good fun because now, whenever we're all out there together, we're just having a bit of fun. We take it serious and it's competitive, but at the same time, it's a bit of fun. So, I love getting on the court with those guys. Absolutely love it.
So where's HoopCity going next?
So we've got Geelong opening up in December. And then we're looking, I can't give too much away, Max, but by the middle of next year, I plan we should be in at least 4 other states.
Wow.
Yep.
Can you sort of talk to me about, your vision for HoopCity and going across Australia?
Like I said, it's being able to provide those facilities that aren't there for kids at the moment. Whether it's, when I say kids, it's whether it's for basketballers, for hoopers, whatever you want to call them. So, it's about providing that facility, but our biggest vision is about growing the game and really giving these kids pathways. So you think about it, Max, there's the Centre of Excellence in Canberra, or the old AIS. There's your state programs. Then outside of that, if you miss those programs, what's the next thing for you?
Exactly.
You're in your rep program or whatever it is. So we want to provide an alternate pathway. And that's the biggest plans we've got. We want it to be a national program. Kids can come and they can incorporate everything, whether it's online, face-to-face, whatever it'll be, and give them the exposure to the NBL and NBL 1 coaches, players and teams that they can't get now.
I saw you partnered with the NBL through that development sort of program. What does that mean to you to have, the NBL in Australia come on board with HoopCity?
Oh, it's huge. So if you want to be the best, or if you want to provide the best, what a better way to do it than to partner with the most elite league in Australia and probably the top 3 leagues in the world.
In the world, yeah.
It was huge for us. It's very early. The program's very early, and then, like I said, we've had a few patches where we haven't been able to operate and sort of get ourselves up and going. But when we relaunch in January next year, it's going to be huge.
Yeah. What does it mean to you to have someone like Chris Goulding, be a part of HoopCity?
It's huge. Absolutely huge. He's one of the best shooters in the world. probably. There's things. He's in the top 20 shooters in the world.
Wow.
He's an amazing basketballer from an Australian sense. He's just come home with the rose gold. But even more importantly than that, and it'll sound cliche, he's just a really good dude too. And he sees himself being involved really heavily and really hands-on when his playing time comes to an end, which I don't see it for a little while yet. But it's amazing, and that's another thing we want from HoopCity too, Max, is we see it as providing an opportunity for retiring or whatever they may be, basketballers, as coaches, whatever, when they step out of that, out of the highest league, out of the NBL, whatever it may be, opportunities, whether it's jobs, ownership, whatever, in HoopCity around Australia, and just an opportunity for them to work and give back and, stay involved with the game that they've loved and been involved in their whole life.
Can you talk to me, I guess, about what you do right now at Melbourne United?
What do I do? I'm on the executive board.
Yep.
So we are quite hands-on at the moment, I suppose, given the transition between CEOs and a bit of change happening at the moment. But so I sit on that. We sort of guide the strategy and set the objectives for the club moving forward. So we're working on a 3 to 5 year strategy at the moment with Nick Trilson, our new CEO, who's doing an amazing job. I had a bit of involvement with recruitment and things this year, which was an eye-opener for me, but it was really good.
So what was that involvement in recruitment like for you, and who did you really want to get onto the team?
In terms of who did I want to get into the team, I let the coaches pick the players. We have a process that we go through. So my role was really to make sure that we went through the process, ticked all the boxes, but I'm not the person, Max, that's got the smarts to say who we should and who we shouldn't have. And then I dealt with a lot of the negotiations and those sorts of things to make sure we can get the players and, make it affordable and put as competitive team as we can on the court.
The champions, Melbourne United, winning the title last season in NBL 21. What was your championship experience like?
Unfortunately, I think we missed out a little bit on really getting to experience because of the COVID and everything else. There's absolutely no doubt we would have been at every single one of those finals games. I even think about the after party, it was cut short. It was, it was a really, really difficult time. So every now and again we have the conversation and say we probably didn't celebrate that enough. And there was also planned to be a really short off season as well, so it sort of jumped straight back into things. But it's nothing. To be honest, the experience for me was all about watching those players. Like there was some of those guys, Chris, Joe Achul, watching Joe out in the court with the South Sudanese flag, like afterwards, with his kids, Shea Ely out there with his kids. That was the best thing for me, and enjoying it with my son and my partner. Like it was amazing. But seeing what it meant for those players after the year that they had, that was the best thing.
What would be your best advice to anyone who wants to become a part owner of an NBL club and be successful like yourself?
The best piece of advice. It's not easy, and it sounds really exciting, but it's hard work. It really is hard work. You can't go into these things and just think, I'm going to be an owner and just sort of sit back and, those sorts of things. Where the league's at right now, they've done an absolutely amazing job, but there's still a lot more work to do for the clubs, for them to become sustainable and to really be able to keep growing and growing. So my advice, I suppose, would be if you want to do it, do everything you need to get in there and do it, but be prepared to do some work.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Chris, for coming on the podcast today. You sort of putting aside half an hour or so your time to come on and have a chat. It's been a privilege to speak to you.
No worries. Thanks, Max. Anytime.
Thanks, Chris. Stay tuned, everyone, for more Sporting Max.